Welcome to Pizza Industry Convos, part of the Pizza Club Network. I'm Michael Fox from Pizza Club. Tonight, we're going to be chatting with Laura Meyer from Pizzeria de Laura about everything that's going on in her restaurant and catch us up with all good things in Berkeley. How's it going, Laura? Thanks for coming on Pizza Club.
Things are great. Being after Pizza Expo, it's you feel revitalized heading into the next year.
Nice. Yeah, so we're recording this right after Pizza Expo. Tell us a little bit about what happened there. I guess we'll start there. What was your takeaways from that?
It was great. Pizza Expo is always a fun time. It's always a lot of work, but it's always the energy I need kind of to go back into the next year. It's just having being able to see everyone, hug everyone, get to talk to everyone because it's one thing to be able to do it online and via email and phone and FaceTime and all of those kinds of things, but to be able to talk to someone in person and just be friends is it means a lot more, especially now, having gone through this first year of business for myself. It's you don't realize how much you need your community of people until you're around them and you see them and you go, wow, I really needed that.
Yeah, it's definitely like a reunion of sorts, right? Every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of how you need that community support for your business, give us an update. Pizzeria de Laura's just turned one. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm sure you've gone through a lot this past year.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what's going on, with the first year. I'm curious, like if there's any big updates from the restaurant and maybe talk a little bit about some of the challenges and successes so far.
Yeah, I mean, officially been 1 year. It was our 1 year 2 days ago. And so 2 days after Expo, and it's always kind of nice that Expo will always kind of be my marking point, my, celebration of many things. And so I didn't do it intentionally, but it's always nice to know that Expo will be kind of my anniversary period of time. And so it's nice being able to come out of Pizza Expo and then be able to celebrate the restaurant on top of it. And yeah, we're officially 1 year old now, and I'm super proud of it. I'm super happy. I'm excited moving into this next year. You know, no first year of business, regardless of how long you've been doing it, is smooth sailing all 365 days. And so, it has not been without its ups and its downs. And, it's been really hard and tiring and exhausting in many different ways, but it's been well worth it. And, I would like to think that, our first year has been a success, and it's pretty apparent that the city of Berkeley and our surrounding area is pretty happy that we're here. So I think, moving into this next year, it'll definitely be informative in some other ways, but I'm hoping that it will be another great year.
That's awesome. Was there initial concern about Berkeley as a neighborhood embracing pizza? Was that something that you thought about? Because obviously what you're doing was unique to the area, I guess.
No, Berkeley has even more so, but now a huge pizza kind of community. They've always been known for cheese board and they've always been known for a number of different things, but there's actually quite a bit of pizza in Berkeley. And, they might not get as much hype as, let's say, San Francisco does, but there's a lot of great pizza in Berkeley. And so coming into it, it wasn't as hard in the sense of, people know pizza. So it wasn't like I had to educate every single person. Granted, there's a couple things that they didn't know about and, that they're new to, but it wasn't starting from scratch, which was really nice. But it's also not so saturated of a market where people are just kind of blowing it off as, oh, here comes another pizzeria. So I feel like I've been able to get in at a really great time. I'm in the downtown Berkeley area. I'm literally a block away from the UC Berkeley campus. I'm right in the heart of the downtown area, which is a theater district. So I've got theaters everywhere. They're doing a lot of building right now, new condos and student housing. So I feel like all in all, we opened at a really great time, to be able to expose ourselves to everybody with the influx of people coming in. So it's exciting moving in the year two, and we've got great visibility. We're right on a corner location. right outside of kind of one of the hubs for public transportation in the Bay Area. And so it just, there's a lot of boxes that were checked when, when I opened that spot.
Awesome. I was curious to know, was there something that you did that you had to pivot or change or tweak?
I mean, honestly, I feel like I was able to kind of take what information I had learned from Tony and friends that had opened pizzerias in the Bay Area. And I feel like I had been able to kind of put all that information together and do it pretty well right out the gate. Of course, there's going to be some pivots that are going to need to be made, but in regards to like the way that it's built physically, I think it's pretty spot on. And then menu wise, I feel like we've been able to hit a lot of points where it gives diversity from what you find elsewhere in the area. So you've got something new and different, but at the same time, we offer 4 different styles of pizza. So it gives you something different while still offering what you know and love. So it kind of captures more of a market as opposed to only doing one style and then having people try it once and go, oh, I might not like that, and then not come back. So I feel like starting out right out the gate with 4 different styles, of course, as well as doing a Sicilian, which is the thicker style, and then kind of going down from Detroit to a New York to a grandma. It gives you all the major points along the spectrum of thin to thick. So I feel like it captures more of the market of what people are looking for, especially when they're dining in groups, without pushing anybody away. So I feel like we did it pretty right the first time. I haven't had to drastically pivot yet. So of course there are going to be tweaks that come, especially as we grow and evolve. And, I'm not really someone who wants to make the same menu for the rest of my life. I do want to change it up eventually. But now that the first year is done, I feel like we kind of have more of an idea as to what people like, what people don't like, and move on and move forward.
So, who is your customer? Is it mostly students during this school year, or is it local business all the time?
Honestly, everybody, which is kind of nice. You can definitely tell based on the hour and the day who the clientele is, which is interesting because, at certain hours, in the daytime lunch period, you tend to see a lot of, you see a lot of students on their lunch breaks, whether it's from the high school or the college, or you see a lot of the staff. It's the teachers or the surrounding people in businesses, during that lunch hour. But then for dinner, your early lunch hour tends to be families and the older generation, or people, let's say, who are attending a show because we're so near to the theaters. And then as the evening wears on, you definitely start to see, okay, this is the millennial hour. And then as it creeps on, you start to see, okay, here's the younger generation coming in because they don't eat till 9 o'clock. Or, here are the concert goers now because the concert doesn't start till 8 or 9 p.m. So, but we tend to see everybody, honestly. And that's really nice because it's an affirming factor that, we have something for everybody. And in that way we capture more of the market. So it's nice that way.
And I guess maybe some advice for people that are thinking about bringing on more than one style to their restaurant, or just exploring the possibility of doing more styles. It's almost like you have 4 restaurants, right? Like when, they can come back and they can get a whole different pizza, right? A different experience. So how do you sort of translate that or how would you give advice to other restaurants that were considering doing that, is in terms of like making the customer experience pretty unique for each visit?
Well, I know it's hard if you're already open and you've been opened, trying to implement something new without drastically increasing the size of your menu. So I know that it can be hard in the beginning when you're incorporating new items, but I knew going into it that I wanted to be able to offer people as much variety as possible without overcomplicating my inventory and without overcomplicating the pizza line and the expediting of those things. And I knew that I needed to figure out how to do that without having 10 million ingredients and blowing my inventory out of proportion or just overcomplicating it now that takes twice as long to really get going because now they're memorizing 10 million things. So the way that I did it was, I figured out my dough process and the way that I wanted to do it. And, it's not super traditional. I'm sure that there's probably going to be a lot of people that look at my process and go, that's not right, but it's right for what I'm doing and it's right for what I wanted to present to the public. And it meant that I have one dough. I don't have a ton of refrigeration space. Although the space in and of itself is large, my refrigeration is small because it's one refrigerator that services, it's where the kegs are, it's where all the bar supplies are, it's where all my inventory is and my dough. And there's just not a lot of space. So I had to figure out how to just have one dough that was just sized to different dough balls. And then that would equate out to the different pan sizes. And then depending on the manipulation, fermentation time, proofing time, is it a single rise, is it a double rise, par bake, non-par bake, things like that, I would then be able to execute more than one style. And then on top of it, my oven is all set to one temperature. So each deck is set to the same temperature, but it means that I can put anything and everything in any deck. I don't have to, I don't have to change my deck temperatures and now only one thing can go on the top. And, especially with thinking about in the beginning, I didn't know what the public was going to want. I didn't know what they were going to like. And if I had 3 decks all set to 3 different temperatures and now one thing is selling more than the other, now I've got a 2/3 less space to work with. So I knew I just needed to figure out how to maximize my spacing, my timing, my oven space, just everything all around. But at the same time, offer people as much variety as possible. So pretty much the way that my menu is built is that I added a couple extra pizzas about 6 months in, about 8 months in, and just to add a tiny bit more variety and then change up some of the pastas. We do fresh pasta as well. So I think now, if you exclude cheese and pepperoni, I think we've got 12 different preset combinations of pizza, and that's it. And then, but the beauty of it is you can pick any style of crust. So a lot of restaurants, what they do is when they get into different styles of pizza, they'll create new combinations, but they'll say, okay, these 5 are only for this style of pizza. Because for whatever reason, and it's a great reason, whatever route you go, but it means that someone eventually is going to come in and say, well, I like that Tommy combination, but I want this style of crust. And now you're having to tell that person, no, I'm sorry, we can't accommodate it. And then you get into the tricky area of, okay, now you're having to recreate it. And now the pricing gets all weird because it's not meant to be on that style. And then sometimes you get into the weird area of, okay, now am I overcharging? It's not the same price as it would be on that style. And it gets a little weird and convoluted sometimes. But that's just the nature of pizza because it's so personal to people and they know what they like and they know what they want and that's what they want. So I tried to figure out, okay, how can I make 10 plus different pizzas, but have them be applicable to any style of crust or cooking method? And so that's what we did. So you can pretty much pick any of those 12 pizzas and then pick any crust style. So really, instead of having 12 options, now you have close to 50 without having to change a thing. So all my prep and execution is the same flow. It just obviously will increase and decrease depending on demand. But everything has been simplified.
That's really impressive. It's really like a finely tuned machine in terms of the deck temperatures and the dough. I mean, that's really cool. And do you have sort of a set number of pizzas? I mean, at this point, have you figured out like what the par is for each pizza, like what will sell? So that way you sort of have enough prepped. And is it once it's sold, that's it kind of thing? Because I know some pizzerias are like, they might start digging into tomorrow's not fermented dough. I don't know. Like, How do you deal with all that?
Well, I wasn't exactly sure how the public was going to react to Sicilian. Honestly, I kind of thought, based on my research prior, that most people were going to want thin, just based on the other restaurants that I had seen and kind of, when you do your research about who your competition is in the general area and stuff like that, I had expected that most people were going to want thin, and they do, but honestly, our Sicilian does great. So the thick and fluffy does fantastic. Granted, because it takes so much longer to proof it, it takes so much longer to do it. I do have a limitation of that on my menu. So it says 25 a day. Now, do we actually sell 25 a day? No, we make more than 25 a day because with online delivery in-house, there's no 25 a day is like an hour worth of service, and that's about it. So we do in fact sell more than 25 a day, although most people don't realize that. Um, but we do have a limitation for that one, in which usually it's around the 40 mark. Granted, that's what I know. The general public only sees 25. But because of that limitation, one, you're creating demand, which, I definitely learned how to do that through Tony, but, by creating your own demand. And so it's known, okay, you got to get here early if you want it. You got to get your order in early if you want it. But at the same time, it also kind of gives us the buffer of, I ran out. It's 7 o'clock on a Saturday. You can't really yell at me because it says it on the menu. So it kind of gives me a little bit of a buffer to be able to kind of do what I want and what I need. But then at the same time, of course, we never want to say no to somebody, but it gives us the ability to say, hey, we've had an abnormally busy day. We've run out of this one style, but it's not because we messed up. It's because we literally sold it out.
I think that's a great way to provide yourself some cover. Like, it really, it sets expectations, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever find the other styles? Do they ever get to a point where you're like, oh, we have, we're sold out, or you try not to get
Yes.
to that point? Oh, okay.
I mean, it's, yeah. And well, this is the hard part of doing pans is because it just takes a lot more space, equipment. Obviously, you got to have the pans, it takes a lot more time and space and equipment. And so when we have our like record days when, we're pushing the boundaries of our limits, yes, there are times when I run out of everything but my New York dough. And I hate to have to do it because obviously people come to me now because they want variety. And I hate it when it happens. But I mean, these are the days when you don't see it coming and you're blindsided. And next thing you know, it's 7 o'clock on a Saturday and you're down to New York only. And you're like, what the heck happened? Like you're just trying to survive at that point. And, there's granted, there's certain things that all pizzerias do, but I do it as well. Because I offer dine-in, phone orders, online ordering, and delivery, when I start to see, okay, things are running out rather quickly, I will shut things off on delivery and to go and prioritize dine-in, because by shutting it off online, you're not disappointing a customer as much as you are someone who's sitting there. They've been waiting. They took the time to physically come. They found parking. They're paying for parking. They've got kids. They've got, like the expectation is a lot more when they're dining in-house. And so when I see things are running out faster, I will shut them off online and for delivery and for to-goes and prioritize the in-house. So obviously we will do that as fast as possible, but sometimes it happens so fast you're just trying to survive till closing.
Wondering, like, do you ever have to kind of gently push people towards New York if you know that you always have enough of those doughs? Is that something you've done?
I mean, yes, we will kind of gently push people towards New York if possible, but because of the nature of the menu and the restaurant, we will just, when it gets down there, you can't tell someone who's come looking for a pan pizza, oh, we've only got 2 grandmas left, but you should really try the New York. It's like you just need to sell it. So, and give the people what they want. So it's unfortunate, but I have gotten a few reviews where people have left unhappy because it's the later part of the evening and we've run out of certain things. But at the same time, I'm like, well, if you don't choose to come in to eat till 9 p.m. and we close at 10 and you're expecting me to have every single item available on a Friday or Saturday night and we're a brand new restaurant, those are kind of your expectations are in the wrong place.
Fair. I mean, it's a lot to ask. And I've been to your space. It's big, but as you said, there's limited space in the storage, and
It's deceiving.
yeah, but it's a beautiful space. Like the dining room's great, and that it's very spacious.
We're not the highest grossing pizzeria in the Bay Area. And I know that. But for a new restaurant who's still kind of figuring it out and at the same time trying to figure out the complexities of storage and the complexities of fermentation time, and trying to figure out what it is that I like and I want to present to the public. I'm not going to just push out dough that was made today because I want to sell something. I want it to taste great, in which obviously sometimes that means it just needs time. And, so unfortunately, there are going to be times when people are going to be turned away unhappy. And it's unfortunate. Obviously, we never want to do it, but, we're still trying to figure things out. We've just passed a year. A lot of people don't, they've come to us and they didn't realize that we were new, and people have, I think coming out of COVID especially, but also just in general, when people dine out, your expectations are different. You go to these restaurants and especially if you're accustomed to going to big name restaurants, you're accustomed to never being told the word no. But a lot of times, especially in independents, small independents, my restaurant might be deceiving because it's physically large, but we are a small independently owned pizzeria that just made our first year. Like we haven't worked everything out. I haven't figured it all out. So there are going to be times when someone's unhappy because they couldn't get a Sicilian at 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, I'm sorry, but we sold out.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're doing the best you can, and it's amazing. And I was curious to know about your staffing, because when I saw you, I guess a year ago, you were, behind the line and like putting the pizzas in the oven and doing it all. So I'm curious, like, have you figured out a way to sort of step away a little bit more, or are you still sort of trying to be in the thick of it, but also training others to help out? Because it's a big operation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still there every day. I'm not, I'm finally to a point where, yes, I can walk away as to a certain extent, like being gone these last 2 days at Pizza Expo. It kind of showed me that, my crew can handle it. Granted, it might be easier when I'm there, but they can still handle it. And so, I'm trying to learn how to let them do what I've taught them and not be in the mix every minute of every day. One, because I have to survive. I have to, make sure that I survive. But at the same time, let them have the autonomy and be able to do the things that I've taught them without me breathing down their backs. Granted, it's been serving more than one purpose. Obviously, I want them to have the same standards as I do when it comes to quality. So me being there for as long as I have, they now know what I expect, and not just me, but the serving staff, my food expediter, everyone has now the understanding of what I expect. And, there are times when, a pizza might go get past the cooks, because they're busy and they don't want to remake it, but it won't get past my expediter because he'll push it back because he knows, so now, the expectation, everyone has the same expectation and they're under the same understanding of like, just remake it. Like I'm not an angry person. I'm not a mean person. I'm not a yeller. It's faster to just remake it than to try and push it out and pretend like you didn't do anything wrong. And then have it come back and now you're remaking it 20 minutes later. Then just admit that you messed up, remake it, and probably no one even noticed.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot to have quality control like that and really just instill that in your workers. And it sounds like it's working. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, it's hard because it's great all the publicity that we've had, and I'm proud of the publicity that we've been able to get and the reputation that we've been able to build. And it's amazing. And I'm very fortunate. I've had a great PR team, but it also means that demand is high right out the gate, which means that it's harder on the staff because they're learning everything for the first time, especially in the beginning. I'm the only one with the answers, and it's hard. You can't be everywhere at once. And so now that they finally are feeling like, okay, I know what's expected of me, I know the standards, I know what to do, pressure's off a little bit, but at the same time, you know, you're going from, we've been business is high. So it means that there's no rest period. It's just go, which means that everyone has to perform at a higher level right out the gate. So it's hard. No restaurant is easy. So, but pizza is almost harder than anything else because everyone eats pizza. Everyone loves pizza, whether it's to go, dine in, catering, all these things. Like the demand is there. So you better learn how to work fast.
It's a steep learning curve.
Yes, it is.
I want to kind of switch gears a bit, though, and talk about this new book, The Pursuit of Pizza. Tell everybody about the book and how you're involved with it.
Yeah, The Pursuit of Pizza is, we just launched it. And so I'm a part of a team called the World Pizza Champions, and we are a group of over 50 members now, spanning across the entire United States and abroad. But we decided, I had the idea to create this cookbook about almost 2 years ago. And as soon as I had blurted it out, everyone just went, yeah, that's a great idea. And it was like, cool. How are we doing this? Because it's one thing to create a cookbook, and it is extremely hard to make a great cookbook and do it well because there are so many parts to it that you don't really understand. But doing it with 40 authors is 40 times as hard. And it's 40 times as gratifying, but it's like herding cats sometimes. And these are all people that have businesses, families, everyone's in a different time zone. So this was a project on another level. But if anyone was going to do it, it was going to be this team, because that's just how kind of amazing this team is. Like, we're comprised of so many smart people in so many different areas that there was no way we weren't going to do this. So we put together a cookbook comprising of 40 plus recipes with QR codes and videos attached to all the recipes that show you, if you're not understanding it written, well, there's a video for it. Watch the video, listen to it. You're going to learn the hands-on techniques of whether it's building a sauce, whether it's how to stretch, So this is a multifunctional cookbook, and there's award-winning recipes in there. They're just recipes in there that we just are tried and true, that these are all very large award-winning people, whether they won physical awards or they have great businesses themselves. Like, these are some of the smartest people in this industry, and this book is kind of a compilation, an anthology of sorts of all of the smarts, which is great. And then on top of it, the World Pizza Champions partners with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, in which we've been working with them for a number of years. And we are very proud to be able to donate a portion of the proceeds of the sales of this book towards the Make-A-Wish Foundation, helping grant wishes for kids. And then it also kind of chronicles our story towards the last Guinness World Record that we accomplished in Tulsa for the largest pizza party. Also in tandem with Make-A-Wish, and trying to support and donate towards granting kids wishes.
That's amazing. And it's such a cool way to sort of give back. I'm excited to check out the book, and it's available now, I believe, anywhere you get your books.
Yeah, pretty much. We launched it at Pizza Expo, and of course you can find it Pretty much on Amazon and anywhere you find your books. I'm sure it'll probably take a little bit longer to find itself in bookstores just because it's still a brand new book. But sooner than you know it, you'll find a cookbook, The Pursuit of Pizza, in a bookstore near you.
Awesome. I know we're going to wrap up in a second here, but I just want to quickly, I know it's Women's History Month and it was International Women's Day. I know you're involved with Women in Pizza. Give me an update on what's going on in that world and if there's anything that you guys were doing this month.
Yeah, Women in Pizza, it's doing great. Women in Pizza is a movement that was started and is deeply backed by Orlando Foods and a distribution company here in the US. And they work in tandem with Chow and Caputo Flour and things like that. And they are just a great group of people that are in full support of women in this industry. And it's amazing to have the kind of support, especially by Ozzy Alexandra Mortati, who's kind of taken this by the helm and run with it. And she's an amazing person. And she's actually turned Women in Pizza into a nonprofit. And so that is the newest thing in which you can donate towards the nonprofit. And they're working towards trying to help women in this industry find education. Like right now, they are sponsoring women to go to schools, pizza schools, further their education, and within this industry, further their skills and their strengths. And for instance, like during Pizza Expo, they were auctioning off or raffling off a scholarship to one of my classes with the Pizza University in Mara Forney in September, and I believe the winner was just announced. But you know, they're trying to just support and back women in this industry while at the same time, you know, giving back to the community as a whole.
Very cool. That's awesome. And Women in Pizza is an amazing organization. We'll link it in the description below. So if you want to check it out. And I guess before we go, what's next? What's in the horizon? Year 2? You're going to be opening another shop, or you're going to do some other concept? You're probably always thinking about the next thing. So I'm curious if there's anything in the queue.
I mean, there's always something on the mind. You can't not have projects in the works and fun ideas, and especially having the teammates that I do and the friends that I do, we're always spitballing new ideas and how cool would it be to do this. And, you know, and of course the Pizzeria de Laura, I'm always thinking about different ways to expand and promote the brand and grow the brand. And I've definitely got a couple things in the mix, but nothing firm just yet. Not that I want to talk about just yet. But I'm excited for the future. I mean, that's the biggest thing is I feel like myself, Pizzeria de Laura, just the brand as a whole, I feel like we've made it through this first year as a success. We're moving and growing in the right direction. And now is the time to kind of go for it. You know, working with Tony for as long as I have, staying stagnant is not the way to go if you want to be successful in this business. You know, of course, heeding certain things and making sure that you're doing them right and not pushing too fast, too hard, you know, without having the right infrastructure. But the future looks bright.
Laura, thank you so much for making time. I know you have a lot going on, and I appreciate you spending your day off talking with Pizza Club. I hope you'll come back and join us when you have more stuff to announce, whatever that is. But I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I always appreciate it.
How can people find you on social media?
Well, the Pizzeria is super easy. It's just at Pizzeria de Laura. It's all one word. My personal is a little bit weird. It's a combination of Spanish and Italian, but it's ECCOMICUPI. It's a blend of Spanish and Italian, so it doesn't make sense to anybody but me. But that's where you can find me. Otherwise, of course, you can find me on the World Pizza Champions website, the Women in Pizza. I'm always happy to talk, exchange ideas, answer questions, just say hi. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. And make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel here. This has been another episode of Pizza Industry Convos. We'll see you again next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.